Hello friends, Mali Pompadit here, CEO of the SOAR Community Network and co-founder of the SOAR Community Nebula. We are interviewing 1,000 champions of change this year, at least that's our goal. And today we have Miss Katherine White with us. Katherine, thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome. Pleasure to be here.
Oh my goodness. I am so happy to know that the work that you're doing, which people will learn about in a few minutes here, is a reality out there in the world, and it's much needed. And going around and speaking with people who really have change in their heart, a huge desire to create a better world. It's really inspiring. So, but when we get started here, I'd love for you to have a few moments to talk about who you really are in the world and what you do. And we could start professionally, and then we'll dive into more of the heart-centered focus.
Okay, happy to tell you all about myself. My name is Katherine White. I'm an organizer and activist in Annandale, Virginia. And my personal life, I have 2 grown boys and a dog named Boo and a husband I've been hanging with for about 36 years. Wow. So that really helps me in my backbone of my work. I have a bachelor's in women's studies, which makes me a little unique with that perspective of the work I do. And then I recently got my master's in public administration and nonprofit management, which helps me understand how government is supposed to work. And that really gives me also some intelligence on the situations in the work I do around policy. So that really helps. But what I have to say is what I think I offer the world right now professionally is a path forward to save our democracy. I'm part of an amazing grassroots movement led mainly by women, and we believe in the power of people to affect change. And what does that really mean? Well, after the election of 2016, I became more politically active. We organized people to get into the DC March because we realized that protesting and marching weren't enough. So using my background in women's studies and different my beliefs and my passions around equal rights and civil rights, we decided that we needed to have political power. So we formed a group called Network Nova. In a nutshell, right now, our main goal is to get Democrats elected, to get people active in the process, and to take back power, really, to really for people power. And I also believe that the world needs something different. Women are offering that difference. And women like myself on the grassroots are leading the way forward to protect and preserve our democracy. So I really think women are doing this in a unique way. We invent different tools and tactics that I think that the establishment has not thought of. For instance, we are sending postcards out to all the voters to tell them, hey, get engaged in voting. Women build power differently, woman to woman, through relationships. And I think that we also understand that we have to build power by working across districts and breaking down silos and kind of really trying to empower the individual to get involved in the political process. And one thing Network Nova does really well is creates a platform for people to come together. We got our start organizing and connecting and networking, and we continue that as our main goal is to connect people throughout Virginia, and actually we connect with people outside of Virginia, and really how to grow our democracy. And one big event we do is the Women's Summit. And that creates an awesome platform for candidates to come together, grassroots to come together, regular people to come together to really fight for what they believe in.
Well, Katherine, saving our democracy is a huge job. And I appreciate you rallying everyone who has the interest, time, and energy to make it happen. And we're going to give you a little bit more time to talk about the cause and how it gets organized and all that later on in the interview. And what I would like to ask next is just you personally, your journey. In your life, have you experienced conscious leadership, compassion, love, that really helps set the tone for who you are today? Is there a somebody that you want to mention, or somebodies, or an experience that really comes to mind?
Yeah, I think 2 experiences affected me profoundly. One is the loss of my mother. I lost her when she was very young. To me, she was only 60 years old, and I was still a young lady. And that loss and the compassion and support that I received from other people really taught me about what the role of community is, right? And that what the best thing you could do for people is to show up for them and to be present when they are in their time of need. And so I think that that really shaped me for the last 20 years since my mother's passing, is that one, it also informed me about death. I'm not afraid of that. I find that that way I can really be an advocate for other people. And when you do experience true love and support and you accept it gratefully, you're so grateful for it that you want to give it, and it makes you a better person. So when you experience loss, I think and actually in your leadership role, you realize how important it is to support people and to be there and to be present. And I think the other thing that really shaped me as a leader is the experience of my son having a mental breakdown when he was a young man. And he was put in solitary confinement. This happened in a place that he was far from home. And that experience really harmed him. And that impact of people helping me get him help, people that were inside the system and outside the system, taught me also how important advocacy is on issues and how that really affects real people. And so I think that those things really make me a better leader. I really try to be there for people. And then I really understand how important it is to be there to advocate for people that don't have a voice. Not everybody can get the help they need. So,
right.
Yeah.
Community is huge. We need it as human beings. We need people. We're social beings.
Yes, absolutely.
And life can be very isolating and lonely.
Yes. So yes, so important.
Great. Well, as we talk about community, when you think of a community builder, when you think of a change agent or champion for change, what attributes come to mind?
Well, right away, somebody fearless, passionate. I know, a risk taker that kind of knows the consequences that may come with that risk. And I think also change agents have to be, when you're leaders, you have to have a level of integrity, even in that fight to make change. I think because real change happens when you get more consensus. I mean, I say there's sometimes as change agents who have to do things that maybe in a loud way, but I think real change sticks when you do it in a respectful way. But being fearless and having courage, standing up for what you believe in, and being that risk taker, those things come to mind.
Great. Well, now we're going to give you some more time to spotlight Network Nova. So the question is, how do you give back to your community? How do you use your gifts, your talents, your skills to really rally the troops and make change happen? So please let us know how that looks like in your world, what that looks like.
What that looks like in my world. Well, I think that, just my true dedication and passion to women's rights, even from when I was a young girl, that I have that passion. And I think in my role, in my leadership role, that I have a tendency to be fair and kind and try to work together with everybody. And I think that puts me in a place where people do have a level of respect that I'm going to treat them a certain way. So I think when you bring people to the table and you want to really make really make change happen, you have to have that level of respect. And in my job and my background, I do a lot of fundraising for groups I care about. So I've learned in my life too, when you're asking people for money, they have to trust you. They have to believe you and what you do. And so you really have to have that level of integrity. So I think that I also don't ask people to do something I wouldn't do, right? So when we're out here doing all this work in the grassroots, it can get kind of crazy trying to figure out what needs to happen. So you have to be able to, to use your influence by showing up at groups and asking them what they're doing to make a difference. And you do a lot of listening. And then you figure out how to build those coalitions by talking to those leaders and getting together with them to try to figure out the solutions. For instance, when we first started Network Nova, we right away, because we're really talking to a lot of people and not staying in our bubble, that we went around and we realized right away we needed to get people elected. We developed a program called Adopt a Candidate, and we just started to kind of talk to other groups about how they can work with us. So I think, it's coming from a level of respect and passion. And I'll say this about me, as I like to have fun. So anything I do with joy. And so when I have an event, people like to come because one, I'm going to make it fun, because this work is hard. There's not like a 9 to 5 to it. So darn if I'm not going to do all I can to make people feel welcome and happy. And, we're going to work on serious stuff, but we're going to also, have fun doing it. So I think I had a particular flair for doing that. Making people feel comfortable and welcome is very important.
Great. And what do you personally have as a goal for this year's event summit, for instance? What would you like to have it look like for you, and what would success feel like?
Those are big questions. I appreciate them, but yes, well, people showing up would be great. No, I'm teasing.
They'll show up. There were hundreds last year.
Yeah, so, the Women's Summit, again, was something that came out of this, thinking from a woman's point of view, based on Seneca Falls, where women came together to do the sentiment, the declaration of sentiments of what they wanted the world to hear that they needed. And that was in 1848. So we modeled the summit on that idea. We wanted to have a way that people came together so everybody had a chance to kind of be heard, that their issues were on the table. And so for me, success looks like that we build it even bigger, that our room looks even more diverse. And when we started out our first year, in 70 days, we did a summit. We didn't know exactly what we were doing, and we did I feel like a fantastic job. But we also looked around and said, hey, what didn't we do well? And what we realized is there was a bunch of just white people in the room with a very few people of color. And we said, we need to do better. So I think that's also, something that you have to do as a leader well, is realize, hey, you need to improve and you have to assess. And we did. So the next year, we had more time to organize. We had about 800 people, and their stage was much more diverse. We tried really hard to try to work across groups to make that happen, but we still realized that our audience was not as diverse. So this year, we've worked really hard on that in a real way, building relationships. So success to me this year would be our audience being a third at least diverse. So we made new friends. We addressed issues and concerns that, our African-American sisters, our people of different ethnicities are experiencing. And we want to make sure that we are including them. We got to get outside of our bubble. So that's one metric of success. And not only people showing up, people walking away with great training, great workshops, and they're ready to hit the doors, and knock doors for candidates and get people elected. So that would be awesome to see that power just build up and that enthusiasm there.
Right. Do you want to mention when it's going to take place this year?
Oh, I could. Very well. It's after the primary, so that's June 28th, 29th, and 30th, and it's the Hilton McLean in Virginia, Tyson's Corner area. So it's 3 days of action. We have Fridays all go local. We'll have all the local candidates, because that's another thing we learned, is that we have to focus on the local issues. They're so important to the kitchen table issues. They're how you educate your kids, where your kids go to school, everything from gun safety to, even healthcare at the local level. And then on Saturday, we will do the Senate Power. And in the morning, have all the candidates there. All 140 are invited. In the afternoon, we'll talk about women's empowerment, leadership, race issues, issues of equity. And at night, we'll have the Power Jam, and it's about telling your story. And because women need to tell their story, because if we don't tell our story, then somebody else tells it for you. So we really are trying to sort of take back that power. And then on Sunday, we wake up and have our badass breakfast, and we'll go big and bigger with national, national presence there with some of the congressional candidates. So it's 3 days. So you asked a little question with a big answer.
Yes, no, fantastic, fantastic. We'll want to spread the word and support you
Yes,
for sure.
thank you.
That's very important. When times are tough for you, Katherine, and you have some down days or perhaps some down years, is there a motto or a philosophy or a quote that empowers you, that moves you forward?
Well, I have to say that about my motto is, for me personally, is I get things done. And I think that's how I live my life. I kind of earned that by all the work I've done. I say to myself, I say, I get things done. I'm a runner. I get into a race to win. And so when you give me something I believe in, I really have my heart all in it. So I get things done. But I will say it's grounded by an Abraham Lincoln quote that all that I owe, all that I am, I owe to my dear mother. And I'd say my father. So I really, really realize the person I am who shaped me is my mom, who was so fearless, a real visionary as a woman, a great role model. And my father, who was so compassionate, was raised very poor, and just was the most generous person you'd ever want to know. And so those two quotes sort of really are my grounding, that I really realized who gave me my character, who shaped me, and that my mom always said, you better win. She taught me that, to be my best. And so I hear her all the time in my brain, like she's always pushing me forward to do my best and to just do everything I can to make a difference in the world.
Well, you're certainly doing that. What is or what does a better world look like through your eyes?
Oh boy, that's another big question. A better world would be where I really think, just on a simple level, one where we can really respect and love each other truly. I think we see this escalation of violence in the world. So I think it's just getting to really take the time to really get to know each other and break down those barriers. And so a better world would be a truly putting aside this idea, not buying into this fear, and really understanding we have to lead with love. And I think that's just a testament to really what I believe humans are capable of. So a better world would be that, because I think when you lead with that, I think all other things definitely can be better. How we get along on race issues, how we take care of our planet we live on, if you lead with love. So I don't know if that's a great answer, but it's
a wonderful answer.
Yeah, it's hard to vision.
It's a wonderful answer, and it's powerful to know that there's so many community builders who are operating and making decisions based on love, as hard as it is sometimes, to do the task required to operate from a place of love. But it's important for us to do.
I definitely believe so, because truly one of the great leaders I admire, who is change agent, is Sam Russell. He's a delegate here in Virginia, and he's really taught me that and modeled that for me as a leader. You don't humiliate your opponent. If you're really a change agent, you build consensus, you listen. And I think that's what the world needs, is to lead in that manner. And I think I'd like to see our government lead like that. And really by that way, you listen to the people, and people aren't, so able to just kind of get a little feeling left behind. And then it gets a little crazy if they feel left out,
Mm-hmm. Katherine, thank you so much for your passion.
Oh, you're welcome.
For your drive and for the work that you're doing with all the other incredible team members that you have behind
Absolutely.
it happen. Really appreciate everything that you're doing at the grassroots level.
Yes.
And to have 800 plus people show up last year.
That would be great, yes.
And then hopefully more this year. It's pretty inspiring. So thank you so much. Well, how can our audience learn more about you, learn more about Network Nova and the summit coming up?
Well, I would say the simplest thing is go to networknova.org. And that's the best way, is to go to networknova.org. It has everything there on the website. And if I can just say thank you for having me. And I'm so grateful to be able to speak to your audience. And I do want to say also a big call out to all the women and men in the grassroots working so hard. I mean, we couldn't do this without each other, and it's so important. I'm just one of many. So thank you for having me here today.
Absolutely. You're very welcome. For those that are watching, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you had some inspiring words of wisdom come through for you by Miss Katherine here. If you're interested in nominating yourself or someone in the community that's making a huge impact, please go to nebula.soar, that's SOAR, communitynetwork.com. nebula.soarcommunitynetwork.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you very, very soon. Take care, everybody.